I'll give a short introduction about myself. My name is René Kreijveld. I'm a Dutch web developer working with Joomla since day one, worked with Mambo before. Up until August 1st, I worked with a company that builds Joomla-based websites for clients. And since August 1st, I changed jobs. And now I work for a financial company where I am building a very large custom application, completely set up in Joomla. So I'm lucky to work every day in Joomla code. So that's pretty fun. And if you look at what's going on in the development world, more and more options are becoming available to run a code editor in the browser. I'm going to share my screen so I can show you how, what that looks like and how I'm going to set up a lot of stuff. So let me see if I can share my screen. Window, entire screen, this one, share, yes. Okay. And then I go here. Does everybody see this? Start coding instantly with Codespaces?
Yep.
Okay, great. So Codespaces is one of these initiatives. It's from Github, where you can run a development environment in the cloud. That starts in second with up to 60 hours a month for free. You can set up a development environment and edit code. Project IDX is coming from Google. That's still in sort of in development. You can join a waiting list. I did that, but I did that already months ago, and still haven't heard anything since. Project IDX is also setting up a development environment in the cloud where you can develop. Visual Studio Code itself also has a project called vscode.dev. And that is also an development environment running in the cloud. But if you read the announcement, you will see that it's a lightweight version of VS Code running fully in a browser. So it doesn't have all the features that you would have on a desktop version. So let me close off these tabs. And then recently I ran into Codeserver. And Codeserver is also a variant where you can run Visual Studio Code in a browser, in the cloud, so to speak, which is a fully working editor. But it runs on your own machine, on any machine, anywhere, and you can access it in the browser. So I started experimenting with it and set up a test environment, and I'm quite pleased to see what this can do and how you can develop with it. You can run this, let me show the main page here, the requirements and the installation. You can run it on Debian and Ubuntu, on a Fedora or a CentOS or a Red Hat or SUSE server, on Arch Linux, Arctic Linux. You can run it on macOS, you can run it in Docker, on Windows, on a Raspberry Pi, and you can run it pre-installed with various cloud providers. I will be demonstrating how to set it up on a Ubuntu VPS, and I have hired a VPS from Contabo. Contabo is a German VPS provider, and they have quite good price quality products. For example, I've installed a Cloud VPS S, a small one, which costs €4.50 a month, and then you get 4 CPU cores, 8 gigs of RAM, 50 gigabytes of NVMe SSD disk, or a standard 200 gigabyte SSD disk. They are quite stable and quite fast, these machines, and you can run them on several data centers, for example, in Europe, in Germany, but also in the UK and in the States, also in Asia. There are quite some options available. Another company that I run a few servers from is Hetzner, and they also have quite cheap acceptable servers. Um, Prices are comparable. But the thing is, if you look at the locations, you can only run their servers in Germany, in Finland, or in the USA, not in the UK, for example. That shouldn't be a problem, but these servers are, in my experience, a little bit more stable than the Contabo servers, but these servers actually run quite good. So I've set up a cloud VPS machine. Um,
Sorry, can I just ask, are these bare bones or have they got something like cPanel or Plesk?
Well, if you select a server here, you can choose what kind of a panel you want with it. You can choose an operating system, and then you can choose a panel. For example, you can, let me see, backups. Yeah, you can't see it here, but there are quite some free panels available. You can also order Plesk with it. They also have an open source thing running on this machine. Oh, here you are, apps and panels. You can choose from cPanel or Plesk, or you can install webmin plus LAMP, or Docker, or LAMP, or webmin. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. So these are options that you can choose when you order a server from them, right?
Thanks, that's really cool. Thanks.
Yeah, looks, they're quite good. I manage all my servers through RunCloud. RunCloud is a cloud-based platform where you can import your servers and manage them from a distance. They have direct direct connection with Vultr, Linode, UpCloud. Also, Hetzner is mentioned here, but also Google Cloud or DigitalOcean. And what you can do here is you can do server management, you can create backups, you can do atomic deployment, and you can, if you got the business version, you can create teams where you can manage servers inside a team. And here you see the landing page of the server that I have set up. Here you see the memory, the disk space, how long it's up and running, and I've installed one website on it, which is the default Joomla website with Joomla 5. So, to install Codeserver, you need to do that from an install script. They have an install script here. And let's see how that works. I'm going to log into the server. I'm now logged into the command line. You see it's mentioning that it's got RunCloud running. So the command to install the server is simply this command. So I'm going to run that as sudo. And then it starts downloading and installing the script. So the install script automatically detects that I have a Ubuntu server running, so it's installing a Debian variant of Codeserver. And now it's installed, and now only thing we need to do is start the server. And to do that, we need to execute this command. What this does, it starts Codeserver, and it also makes sure that it's restarted on every reboot. There's one important thing here. You see at the end it says $user, and what this does, it's the background command running Codeserver is now run with the permissions of the user that is defined in this variable. So if I say echo $user, I'm getting back my name. That's my login name, which means if I execute this command like so, then Codeserver is running on my user account. That means in Codeserver, I can only open folders where I have permissions for, so only folders that are in my home directory. You can run Codeserver as root, then I would have to do it like this, at root, then it would have run as a root user. And when you run it as a root user, you can open all files and all folders on the whole of the server. However, new files you create within Codeserver will also be created with the rights that the process is running on. So if I create a new file in code server, it will be created with the owner root, which is an undesirable effect. Plus also running code server as under a root account will allow you access to everything in the server, even the system file. So my suggestion would be, and also code server itself suggests, to run it with the rights of your own user account, right? Now that we've done that, the code server reports us that the package has been installed, and code server comes with a password, and the password is automatically stored inside my config file. So if I show you the contents of that config file, I see here the password that I can use to log in into code server. However, I can't access code server just yet because it's running on an internal port on localhost 8080, and I cannot access that from the outside world. So what code server suggests to run it then is to install it, to expose code server to the outside world, for example, with Let's Encrypt and NGinX. That is the method that I'm going to be set up, but because of my server is running in RunCloud, I will do this kind of a setup, but then inside RunCloud. So let me show you how that works. In RunCloud, when you install websites, you create for each website, you create a web application. So I'm going to go to Web Applications, and then deploy a new web application, an empty web app. And then I have to input a web name, an application name. I'm going to make that web dev. And then who's the owner of the web application? I'm going to select my own account. What's the domain that I will be using? I'm going to be using webdev.joomlaprofessionals.nl. I've already set up this domain name in Cloudflare. So in Cloudflare, I manage all my DNSs in Cloudflare. I've already set up webdev.joomlaprofessionals.nl running at the IP address of my server. Yes. Then, what PHP version? I need to set up a PHP version. Not that code server is using PHP, but when I create a web application in RunCloud, you need to choose a PHP version. So I'm going to choose 8.2. And then the application stack, I'm going to choose NGinX. And then I'm going to say deploy webdev. So now it has created the web application, webdev.joomlaprofessionals.nl. I can go there, but nothing happens because RunCloud simply installs an empty web application, thinking it's an HTML or a PHP-based website. You also see that we've got no HTTPS, there's no certificate, so I'm going to change that first. So I'm going to go to SSL TLS. And I'm going to say, for this application, deploy SSL. I'm going to deploy an SSL certificate, choose a Let's Encrypt certificate, and do server-side HTTPS redirection, which means if I go to the web application, I automatically go to HTTPS. So deploy SSL. And you see now the status is a yellow icon. Let's say, so it's now issuing a Let's Encrypt certificate in the background. So let's refresh. And now we see that we've got a certificate ready. So let's go back to the dashboard. Click on webdev.joomlaprofessionals.nl and refresh. And now we've got a certificate. So it's now running HTTPS. But still, RunCloud is thinking that it needs to serve a simple website. The way code server suggests to work is to use NGinX as a proxy. So we're going to create a proxy that serves a backend application to the front end. So how do we do that? First, we need to modify the NGinX configuration. So I'm going to give myself root rights, sudo su min. Now I've become root, and go to the directory where this configuration files are. And here I see the main configuration for NGinX. So I'm going to make a copy to make sure that I've got a backup. Copy main.conf to main.conf dot backup. So now I've got a copy, and then I can edit this file, vi main.conf, and then delete everything in it. And then I'm going to paste the proper config. I'm copying it right now, like so, and then insert, and there it is. So what does this say? Here's the error log, here's the access log, another piece of access log, compliant max body size. These are some default setups. It's using a Let's Subscript certificate, and that's it. And then it automatically includes another config file, which is default setup by the system. So now I can save this. Below that part, if we look back at the original file, here, you could see that it says some location stuff, some favicon stuff, things about how to handle image files, how to handle HTML files, where are the HTML files. So all that we don't need. So now I've got a minimum bare setup for configuration. So now all I need to do is configure a reverse proxy that redirects all traffic from our original web application to the backend, to our backend application code server. Now, I can do that inside RunCloud. So first I'm going to go back to the dashboard, go to the web dev application, and then go to NGinX config. I'm going to add a new config. And RunCloud has some predefined configurations available. So I'm going to use a proxy, effortless turn NGinX as a proxy server. And then it also writes out for me some default setup. I'm going to simply remove this and then insert everything I need for the reverse proxy, like so. And these files, I did make that up myself. These files are a direct copy from the from the documentation of code server. So simply pasted these files in here, and then save config. Now the configuration is saved, and all we need to do now is restart NGinX. So click back here, and then go to Services, and then go to NGinX, and then it's running now. And I'm going to say restart. Now it's restarting NGinX. Okay. And now let's see if we see code server. So I'm going to go here and then refresh. And then we've got code server. It says, welcome to code server. Well, the password I need to put in was in my configuration. So I'll go back there and then type out the file that held the password like this. Oh, hang on, let me change something first. By default, code server mentions this. Please log in below. Check the config file at home/René/.config code server config.yaml for the password. This might give away just a little bit too much, so we can change this message. So, and how do we do that? We need to do that again as root, sudo as admin, and then go to this folder, user-lib code server source browser pages, and there we see a login.html. So I'm going to make a backup of this, login.html to login.html.backup. That's it. Then I can edit it. Nano login.html. Oh, made a typo again. Login.html. Right. There's the title. A little bit lower here, it says login below and password message. So I'm going to remove that. I don't want to see this password message. And save that. And then refresh. So now it only says, welcome to Code Server, please log in below. So now let's get my password. That was in the config file. Where did I use that? Right here. So this is the password. Copy and paste that in and submit. And there we have Visual Studio Code running. Okay, this is quite bright to my eye, so I'm gonna change the theme to a bit darker theme. Visual Studio Code dark, so this looks better. You see these messages here because I tried the installation today before and it loads this from my cookie settings. So let me first clear that. That's great. Where do I do that? Inspect. I need to somehow clear the cookies from this one, like this. Just clear everything except only the cookies. Clear, refresh. Password, submit. Now, somehow it remembered what I did earlier today. Doesn't matter. So we've got Code Server completely running inside the browser. Right. In VS Code, you can install extensions, and you can install these extensions also in the browser versions. So click the extensions button here, and then we can usually install the extension that I use the most. For example, Prettier. Install that. It's now installing. I also use XML tools. Install that. And to do PHP development work, I used to work with PHP Storm, and I think most of the Joomla developers are using PHP Storm. But I found Devsense to be a really, really good alternative for development work. And I've got a page about that, Devsense. Yes. And Devsense for Visual Studio Code gives you a complete environment to develop PHP inside with Visual Studio Code, and it gives you most of the options that you also have in PHP Storm, like code help and completion, IntelliPHP, continuous code validation. You have a debugger, so you can debug code. You can also debug inline. You have navigation features to jump to where you've created methods and that sort of things. There's a code lens, rename factoring, code formatting, also formatting according to the Joomla standards. There's a PHP profiler in there. You can create unit tests. So it's a pretty good tool. So I can install that as well here, Devsense. And what it does, it then installs PHP all-in-one support, Composer, Profiler, and IntelliPHP. So if I click this to install, it will automatically also install these other ones. All right, that's installing. Takes a while because a lot of software is installed. to get Devsense completely ready. And then I need to input my license key. So I'm going to move this window away. So I don't want everybody to see what my license key is. See if I can move this to another window. Well, that doesn't seem to work. Maybe if I make it a bit smaller like this. Yes. I can't seem to move it.
Don't worry, I can blur this out.
Doesn't matter, then I will insert the key anyway.
I can blur this out, René.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Stop sharing for a moment if you want.
That's also an option, yes. That's a good suggestion. So I'm going to stop sharing.
No, that's not as good. Then I can't copy your key.
Well, I'm going to do that anyway. So, like this, and then go to here, command palette, and then go to PHP tools. PHP tools, activate license. Okay. Copy my license key, paste it in, and then enter. And then it says activation succeeded. Right, so I'm going to share again. Entire screen, like so. Share. So it's now activated. So if I check the extensions, you can see all my extensions installed. So there's Composer, IntelliPHP, PHP, Profiler, Prettier, XML tools, all the things I need to do development work. So you can search the extensions here, but you will find that not all extensions are available in the in this marketplace. And why is that? CodeServer is not allowed to load extension from the official Visual Studio Code marketplace. And this is the official Visual Studio marketplace. For example, if I want to install Github theme, which I think is a really nice dark theme, then it's available in the official marketplace, but in CodeServer, GitHub theme, it can't find it. It finds a lot of fault. That is recently added. Okay, great. Then I can install it here. Yes, GitHub dark default. That's better. What was another one? VS Code grade icons. VS Code grade icons. Also available. Okay. Yep. Set file icon theme. I'm going to choose VS Code grade icons. Icons are when you open files, you see these nice icons, which is what I like a lot. And then to do development work, you also need to deploy your code. And to deploy code, I use the extension called deploy reloaded. Deploy reloaded. And you see that the CodeServer marketplace cannot find that. So how can you install an extension that is available on the official marketplace, like here? Find. Here it is, but it's not available in the CodeServer marketplace. Well, to do that, you can go to the extension, and then you can click Download Extension. And this will download a file to your, for example, to my desktop. And if I then check the file, it says mkluber VS Code deploy reloaded.vsix. So this is the installer file needed to install this extension. What I've done is hide this. On the server, I created a folder extensions, and I already uploaded these extensions to my server with a secure FTP. And I can install manually these extensions with the following command. which is code server space and then the name of the VSIX file. So I'm going to copy this and put that behind and then enter. And then it installs the extension of the extension from the command line. So this is also a pretty big extension. You see it's 2.5 megabytes. Now it's installed. And when I then check my extensions in VS Code, then you see it's already installed. So a way to install extensions then is simply download them from the official Visual Studio Code Marketplace, upload them to your server, and then install them off the command line. Right. Let's go edit some code. I've made a small extension. I created a module, and I put this module inside a repository on my GitHub account. It's called Mod My Articles. It's a very simple module that shows the articles that you as an editor created. And I want to edit this module inside my web version of VS Code. So first I need to set up my Git credentials. So I'm going to say git config, set my global username and set my global email, like so. And then in the web version of VS Code, I can say clone a repository. Well, I want to clone repositories into a separate folder on my server. So in my home directory, I'm going to make a directory, make their repos. So all my repositories, I'm going to store them on my development server in the subfolder repos. That's now created. So clone repository, and then because GitHub is an extension that's automatically embedded in VS Code, I can say clone from GitHub. And then the extension GitHub wants to sign in using GitHub. Okay, allow that. Okay, to finish authenticating, navigate to GitHub and paste in the above one-time code. Okay, so I'm going to copy this code and then say copy and continue to GitHub. Do you want code server to open the external website? Yes. I was already logged into GitHub, so I'm going to automatically go to this page, device activation, paste the code, and then continue. Okay, authorize GitHub for VS Code. Yes, authorize. And then I need to put in my authentication code. So I'm going to go to my GitHub account, copy the code. Congratulations, you're all set. Okay. So that's set up, and VS Code now automatically sees all my repositories. So I'm going to choose this My Articles repo, and then it says, where do you want to place this repo? Well, in the folder repos, and then OK. So, would you like to open the cloned repository? Yes. And here I see the code of the My Articles repository. So to show that I can modify code and push that back to my repo, here was my repository in GitHub. And if I modify, for example, the README, this is a test repo for Jerk London. Let's see if we can push changes. Save. I've saved the file. The green bar here indicates that this is a change that I did. I also see on the Git, on the source control page, I have one pending change. So I'm gonna stash this and then commit it. Update README. And then here I'm going to say commit and push. So I'm going to commit this change and push it back to the original repo. Would you like CodeServer to periodically run git fetch? No. But if I check my original repo and refresh that, then we see that the line was added to the repo. So I made a change and could push it immediately back to my original repository. So that's great because all changes can still be maintained then from GitHub. So that works pretty good. So here are the files of my small module. Well, what this module does is it loads the articles of the user that you've created. Well, what about if we want to edit this code? You see there are a lot of squiggly lines here, which means VS Code doesn't understand where these files, what this does, because it doesn't have the complete Joomla code base loaded. So I'm going to add that to this workspace. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to say file, add folder to workspace. Well, then it wants to load a folder. Let's go back to the server here. And I see here this joomla5.kreijveld.nl website, which is the default Joomla website that I created before. If I look at this extension, then I can, was logged out from Run Cloud. Then I can see that the files are here. So I'm going to copy this path and then go back to VS Code and say, I want to add this folder to the workspace. Okay. So now I see it automatically refreshes because it's now created an empty workspace, an untitled workspace. And this workspace now holds two folders, the mod my articles folder where my repository is, and the public HTML folder of my Joomla website. So I'm going to save this workspace for future reuse. Save workspace as. I'm going to name this mod underscore my articles. Okay. And now when I open a file, for example, mod my articles.php, then, and I go here to module helper, I immediately see there's an abstract class coming from Joomla CMS helper module helper. So the Devsense software to develop in PHP now automatically recognizes all my functions. For example, if I go here, I created a helper file, my articles helper.php. Well, what this does, it loads the list. If I check commands here, for example, get container, you immediately see all the information you get from the Joomla core. It's a static function get container. It's in Joomla/di/container with explanations. So this is really handy for development work. Now, to deploy my module, I would like to automatically copy my module into my Joomla files. So to do that, I already installed the extension deploy reloaded. So I can configure deploy reloaded to automatically deploy code to my working environment. So how does that work? In the folder VS Code, I need to create a new file called settings.json. And I'm going to paste some code in there, which is a configuration file for deploy. And say that. And deploy reloaded first defines packages. Packages are things you want to deploy. Well, I've created a package called my articles. Deploy on save is true, which means every time I save a file, it automatically gets deployed. The description is, this is the my articles package. Use all files and all subfolders and exclude some files. I don't want these deployed. It should be readme. I don't want my VS Code folder deployed, don't want my Git folder, and don't want my Git ignore to be deployed. To what target do you want to deploy? I want to deploy to the target Joomla 5 development site. And here are the targets I defined. And the Joomla 5 development site is a local target. The description is Joomla 5 root description. And where do you want to deploy your original files to? I want to deploy these to home/René/web-app/Joomla 5 public HTML modules. So I want to deploy everything to the modules folder. So every time I save a file now, it automatically gets deployed to this folder. So let's deploy the complete module, which is mod my articles. Then I can say here, deploy, select deploy operation. I want to deploy the selected folder to the Joomla root website. Well, now it has automatically deployed these files. So let's check where the files are. You can go to the folder modules inside the Joomla folder, do a list, and now I see mod my articles, which was just deployed at 2056. So now I can go to the backend of the Joomla site, Joomla 5.kreijveld.nl/administrator, log in with a passkey. And then I go to system and then go to discover. And then it says, hey, there's a new My Articles module. Okay, let's install this. Install. The My Articles module shows a list of articles you created. So, okay, let's publish the module, content site modules, a new module. Mod My Articles module. The title is My Articles. I'm going to put that in the position on the right side, on the right banner. Access is, of course, registered because it only shows the articles that you created, so you only see them when you're logged in. And the menu assignment is on all pages. Save and close. Let's go to the front end. And when I log in here, Joomla 5, yeah, sign in with a passkey. Now I'm logged in. And here I see my module, my articles. But what does the output of the module do? It only shows you a list of the titles of the last 5 articles that I created, because that's a setting in the module. My articles. Oh, it's ordered by title descending. Let's order it by created descending. So the most recent one comes first, and set the number to 10. Save, and then refresh. And then it says, okay, here are my articles. So the module is working, but it doesn't do that much. What we would want is that the title, for example, would be clickable. So we need to modify our module code. So close this. If I look at the code here, the code loads these 5 loads the articles according to the settings that you've set in the backend, like the number of articles and the ordering, and the template simply displays them. It creates an unordered list, class mod my articles, and it simply shows the article title. So what about if we want to put a link in front of it? So I'm going to say here, hang on. First thing I'm going to do is, as you see, VS Code is auto-saving. So I'm going to put auto-save to off. I only want, when the file is, when I save the file, I want it to be deployed, because otherwise it keeps saving all the time. So I'm going to put a link here. A ref is quote like this. and then /a. So now the title is enclosed inside an href. Save that, and once I save it, the file is automatically deployed, has been deployed to our production site. So if we refresh the page here, we now see all these are now links, but the links are empty. It doesn't do anything because it simply holds just this. So let's change this to a link that really shows the article. And to do that, the link is index.php question mark option is content underscore content, and ID is, and then I need to put in the ID of the article. So I'm going to copy this code and I'll put that here. And instead of the title, I'm going to put the ID. Yes, save it. It's automatically deployed. Let's refresh the page here. And now when I click on your modules, you see the, I would expect that I would see the your modules. Maybe I made a mistake. Options content. I've created the wrong link. This should be options content and view is article and ID is 1. Save. Refresh. And now when I go to your modules, we only see the your modules article. And when I click on your template, I only see the your template article. So what about if we, instead of the link to the article, we would also get an edit link behind the title? That would even be better. So I can immediately edit the article straight from this list. So we can modify the link once more. So I'm going to put a link behind it. Copy this. Yes. Put a non-breaking space and then repeat this. And instead of the article title, I'm going to say the word edit. But to edit a link, the link shouldn't be view is article and ID is that. It should be an task is article.edit, and the extra parameter ID should be a underscore ID. Right, so I've added a second link behind it. It's automatically deployed once I save the file, refresh the page, and now I get edit links behind it. So if I click on edit, I would come into the edit mode of the millions article. So let's do that. And here we are in the edit screen of the millions article. So you see how easy it is to modify code and immediately deploy it to a website which is in the same folder as of your home directory. But what about if I would have, if this would be a test website and I have a real production website on another server? Well, that can be set up with the deployment extension as well. And I've put an example here. This is an example of a target, which is a secure FTP link that would be named a Joomla 5 live site. It's in this folder: home, Joomla 5, web apps, Joomla from another server, from this host 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2. This is the username, and this is the password. So how will that work? I can deploy this file as well by clicking the select deploy operation here, and then deploy selected file. And instead of Joomla 5 development site, I would choose Joomla 5 live site. And then it would automatically upload this file with FTP to my production server, all from within VS Code. Okay.
That is quite some achievement you've gone. How long has that taken you to get to this point? Because you've been talking for an hour, or not quite, but the amount of knowledge that's come out from that, and how long has it taken you to work out these setups?
It took me a day to figure out how everything works. I mean, I've already worked with these extensions like deploy and IntelliPHP. I'm working with these already for months, so I already knew. I just had to find out how to use deploy extension um, um, with, for example, a secure FTP link. And it's all pretty good documented because if you go here, you see uh, here are explanations how to deploy to secure FTP, how to deploy to local files, to compare files. You could also deploy as soon as you commit code. So it's pretty well documented. And something I also would like to show you is how to debug your code from inside VS Code. Is that something you would like to see?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So that's stuff Gary would definitely like because he's very good with bugs.
Good, good. So to debug, we of course need the option to have the debugger available on the web server. So I can check if if the debugger is already there by going to System and then go to System Information and then go to PHP Information. And of course, on my server, Xdebug is already present because I've installed that today. So uh, with on a run cloud based server, there's a specific setup to get Xdebugger running, but there is quite some good documentation. Xdebug PHP, xdebug.org, and here you can download it. There's documentation how to set it up. It's all pretty well documented. But what if we wanted to debug our code? I cannot debug code inside my repository. That's impossible because the debugger would like to know where is the code. But what I can do, I can debug code that's running inside my full website. So if here are the files of my full website, and if I go to modules, I can see my mod articles files, and this is the code that I've just deployed. So to debug this, I can go here, and I have to set up PHP Xdebug. I'm not quite sure if that's already set up. I think I've already created a file for that, launch.json. Here's the launch file. VS Code needs a launch file to listen for debug requests. And that's particularly this, listen for Xdebug. It's a PHP debugging, and the port to listen to is port 9003. So let's check if that is set up. So on my server again, I can do PHP -i and then grep for Xdebug. And if all is, that's not good. PHP -i, I set I. Right. Let's do that again and grep for xdebug.ini. Here it is. So here's the configuration file for Xdebug. Let's look at that. Cut, etc. PHP 8.2 run cloud config in xdebug.ini. And here we see the extension that's loaded is xdebug.so. I've compiled that on the server. Start with request is yes. So as soon as a debug request comes in, it automatically starts. And most important thing, the client port that Xdebug is listening on is 9003. And that's also what I've set up in the launch configuration of Xdebug. So in order to debug, I go to the file that I want to debug. For example, my articles module has a helper file, my articles helper.php, which loads the list of articles to display. What if you wanted to debug that? I'm going to put here a breakpoint, and then I'm going to go to the debugger, and I'm going to say, listen for Xdebug. And then start. Now we've got this thing here saying, okay, Xdebug is available. And I also see here listening to Xdebug on port 000.9003. So if you go to the front end of the site and refresh the page, the debugger should kick in. So I'm going to press refresh. And here, I now see that the debugger has kicked in. It's now waiting here. And now I can step through the code, literally step through the code. So it says, I've set up in the backend, the number of articles should be 10. By default, it's loading 5, but if I take this step, I can see articles is now 10. The debugger automatically reports back to me the value that has been set. Here, articles has the value 10. What ordering do I want? The ordering is created descending. So here is I've created an ordering map. And then here it loads the articles. Query set limit articles. Number of articles is 10. It sets the query, and in the variable my articles, it loads the objects from the database. So let's execute that. What do we have in my articles? We have an array of 10. Oh, and I can add a watch here. $my articles. And then I see that's an array of 10 records. Maybe I can move this down a bit, like so. Yes, 10 articles. The first one is the ID and the second one is the title. So this is exactly the data that I'm getting from the database. So I can completely step through the code. Now it's coming back to the display, require my helper. And what if I want to step into this? And I can use this one, step into. You get to registry.php, and you can also step through this code again. So you can completely debug and see everything that's happening inside the code. Well, let's make it run for now. The page has timed out because that's what what I get on a server. Doesn't really matter that much, because if I just simply switch off the debugger like so, and then refresh, we get the list again. But the idea is that you can completely debug your code inside the web version of VS Code. I've also got a Chromebook, and I've even tried this, and I can load the code, I can deploy it, I can upload it through FTP, I can debug code, everything from within the browser. So if it's now on 100%, let me put this to 0%. It's quite readable. You can see the map here, everything is working, which is actually really great. I've also made a change here, I see. These are the changes I did. Okay, let's commit this. Added link to article, and edit link, and then commit and push. Rhino says okay, always. So the commits are put, the changes are pushed. Now let's see, go to mod my articles, and then go to the helper. No, not there. That was in default.php. Mod my articles, template, default PHP. I can see changes, who's to blame. Well, this was done here, initial version. Just now, added link to articles. You can see the changes. This was removed, that was added. So everything is visible. So that's what I really like with this solution. Everywhere I go, I can just go to a browser and edit code, debug code, deploy it, all from within the browser. It's pretty stable. I haven't had any hiccups. I haven't had any hang-ups. It works just really well. Questions?
Fantastic, René. I've got a couple of queries based on my own confusion around using VS Code.
Yeah.
I use a plugin called Remote Explorer.
Yeah.
And my understanding of that is that it installs a version of VS Code server on the fly on the remote system.
Okay.
So, and I think there's a way to configure it to tell it what things you want to install in it and what extensions and so on. I'm just wondering, I mean, I can see that this would be something where you can tailor the whole configuration, you can set it all up, and you can have all your different repositories and all of that kind of thing. So from that perspective, it's obviously very different.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not really sure what my question is. Yeah, Remote Explorer. That's the thing that I use. And as far as I know, it installs a version of VS Code Server remotely on the fly as you connect to the other system, which is what I've been using to develop on.
Let's see. There's something about remote code usage. Find remote. What's this? Why can't code server use Microsoft Extensions Marketplace? Okay.
Yeah, that's another limitation. It seems to be a bit of a petty limitation where you know some of these third-party extensions aren't allowed to use the marketplace installers.
What it says here, what's the difference between code server and GitHub Codespaces? Built-in processing portal on remote machine integrated in VS Code portal. That's not it. No, I don't. I read somewhere there's something about using it remotely. You can set up an SSH tunnel or something.
Yes. I mean, that's pretty much what I was looking for when I installed this extension. And then all of a sudden I realized, I think it's doing a lot more than what I actually need.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of a little bit, well, let's just, we're connected, so let's just carry on.
Well, the beauty about this setup is it's hosted on my own server, and with deploy reloaded, I can just simply deploy the code that I'm editing anywhere I like.
Yeah.
Whether it's a local folder or whether it's a remote server that I can reach through SFTP.
Yeah.
And
yeah, nice. A really nice setup.
Because that I have a local website, the local website that I'm developing for, I've got that also installed in the same account of my on the server. That means that I can deploy it there, but I can also debug it there, because I know in Visual Studio Code it's also possible to do remote debugging. This should be closed like so. That's also possible, but that's quite more difficult to set up, I think. You have to set up the remote server. You have to set up directory mapping of folder mappings. So if you do that, then you would be able to debug by having just your local code here. So then you would map this to what are the folders on the remote system. But I haven't used this at all, so I didn't even know that it existed. So
and so now that you've set up this this remote system, do you no longer do any local development?
Yeah, I still do, but to be honest, since August 1st, I work for this other company. They bought a pretty nifty, very very expensive MacBook Pro. But if you look at the prices of these servers, I mean, the server is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Well, if I look at the prices for €4.50 each month, you have an 8 gig machine. But if you double that, you have a 16 gig machine.
Yeah, and you're looking at 32 TBs of traffic. I mean, it's not like you're going to max that out just sending some stuff up to GitHub.
If you pay this for each month, that's €120 a year. That I can work quite some years before I spend the same amount as I spent on my MacBook.
Yeah.
But of course, having a local machine, it does more than just software development, because the way I've set up my local machine, that also has a complete Apache PHP MySQL stack. I have to update that, but I know how that works. I know how to set that up, and I have no trouble using it that way. And but next year I'm going to go a month to Asia. I'm not going to bring my 3,000 euro MacBook with me. I'm going to take my Chromebook with me, and that's just enough to support the work that I need to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also tried it on an iPad. That even works as well, but I found that it's it's pretty much undoable if you don't have a separate keyboard instead of the screen keyboard. And I had some quirks using it on the iPad as well.
You could even do away with your laptop or your Chromebook and set up a virtual machine in the cloud directly.
Yeah, true. But the way this works, I mean,
it's nice. Yeah, it's nice.
The main thing for me is I need to be able to deploy, and I also need to be able to debug, and I want proper support for the Joomla framework, and that's what I've got here. Very, very good. If I write something here, it gives me code completion in my daily driver. I've also got GitHub Copilot installed, and I'm working now within the project that I'm working on, my main project. I've been working on that for 3 months now. Copilot seems to have learned the code. If I ask questions on GitHub Copilot, it gives me suggestions that really use the possibilities of the Joomla framework. It knows the framework somehow, so that's really efficient.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I really like that. The way that works, it's just amazing.
You need a license for Copilot, I assume.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It just costs 10 euros a month.
Yeah,
I think. GitHub Copilot. Your AI pair programmer. Compare plans. Business. Oh, we've got business now. No, individual. We've got individual. That's $10 a month. Yeah. I mean, it's just as good as ChatGPT. I used to use ChatGPT, but Copilot is available inside of VS Code, which is so much handy. For example, what I can do with Copilot is I can highlight some code like so. Highlight this part, and then you can say, no, hang on. What did I do? Like this. I can highlight it and then say, optimize this code or simplify this code, and it gives you such good suggestions. It works like a charm. And I've also really looked at PHP Storm, but for PHP Storm, there's no cloud variant available.
No.
As far as I know, you can't run PHP Storm in the cloud like this.
Phil came across that problem a few years back and came up with a solution which was a web-based IDE, but it was a bit clunky. Quick question: when you're loading your whole Joomla installation, do you need to load that whole installation to get all of the code completion stuff, or is it just the library, or does it also pull in all the stuff from third-party extensions and then understand all of those kind of helpers?
Suppose if you use, for example, if you use RSForm Pro and you start using RSForm Pro classes inside or methods inside your own code, then it would find them.
It would.
So that's good. But
yeah.
I think technically you would only need,
the Joomla libraries.
Libraries, I think, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's where everything is. I mean, like this.
Yeah, but if you're customizing stuff, then pulling in extent, like I've got a client who's had quite a lot of customizations done, pulling in classes from different extensions and stuff into other extensions. Yeah, that's needed. Okay.
All these things, like if you highlight this and you say, okay, go to the definition. Well, that's you can't find that. Do you have an example? Get identity. Get identity. Go to definition. It immediately jumps to the file where the definition is done.
That's nice.
Like it's so handy, and
Yeah.
also get identity. Go to implementations. You can't find that. Go to references. You see all the files where it's referenced. So it's indexed all the code, and I mean it's also other code inside the Joomla files.
Yeah.
You're so productive, and I mean these are the good things you get from PHP Storm. But with Devsense, it's also available now inside VS Code.
Just a quick,
Yeah,
sorry, just a quick question on the DevSense. What was the fee for the DevSense license?
yeah, that's Devsense. It's cheaper than PHP Storm. Obviously, it's not PHP Storm. Let's look here, and then we go to pricing. If you're for personal use, yeah,
Is that? Oh, I thought that was at 11,999,000.
and now, if you just want it for VS Code, like so, then the individual license is 60 euros, and the next year it's 50 euros.
Okay.
And for commercial, it's a bit more expensive, but
Yeah.
we bought a license for an individual. Well, in my company, I'm the only developer, so why buy commercial then?
It's not it's not preventatively expensive, is it?
No, because I've also recently looked at the prices for PHP Storm, and PHP Storm for personal use is I thought it was 100 euros or something. PHP Storm for individual use. Here it is. So the first year it's 99 euros, and the second year is 79 euros.
Yeah.
And what I do, but I'm not the most, I'm not the best program for sure. But for me, it's a bit cheaper. It's good. For what I do,
I mean, I think the big benefit about PHP Storm is everything that you need, all of the tools, all of the. You don't have to install many third-party extensions. It's all kind of there and available, and pretty much works out of the box. That's the big selling point, I think. But in terms of the portability of it, it's got nothing on this.
No, and the thing that I was missing the most was automatic deployment, and I found that with this deploy reloaded extension, which is, I think it's absolutely fabulous. Works like a charm. Works really well, and the only downside is that it's it's even last updated in November. Okay, that I find odd. Because on the marketplace it says something different. Deploy reloaded. Deploy reloaded. Yeah, last commit 2 years ago. I see last updated 2019, so that's 4 years ago. But I have to say it's pretty darn stable, and it works really well. And there's quite some explanation on how to set up these here. How do you need to set up these all these variants? Like how do you create packages? How do you create an FTP or a secure FTP? Or how do you create local folders? How do you deploy when you do a commit? I mean that it's pretty good, I think. And also you can there are extensions if you want. In PHP Storm, it's also great that you can look into your database straight from PHP Storm. Well, there's a simple solution. Do you know Adminer?
Adminer, yeah.
Yeah. Well, on every website I manage, I install Adminer, and Adminer is a tool that you can manage your databases from within the browser. So I just open a second browser tab, and then you can log into the databases. I can show that here. Let me quickly fire up my own local development environment on my Mac. Start dev. Oh, start dev. the development side, so on the site that's running here, and then you can access the database as well. But there are also extensions for VS Code where you can install a MySQL extension inside VS Code. That's for one MySQL. SQL tools. What does this do? It's driver, and this is complete manage MySQL connections, service database tables, columns, queries. So then you can do MySQL management from inside VS Code. So that's also possible. I haven't found many things that I had in PHP Storm that I'm missing in VS Code nowadays.
Yeah, my only gripe with VS Code is that everything's kind of CLI configurations and JSON settings and things like that.
Yeah. But once you get the hand of it, and to know how to use it, then I'm
not too bad.
I used to work when I worked for Destiny. I used to work 3 years, consecutive years with PHP Storm. Before that, I used to work with VS Code, but these last 3 months I've been going back to VS Code, and then I have no trouble doing what I need to do. So I'm quite happy with it nowadays, and even when it's now available in the browser, which is, I think, great.
Well, thanks for that. It's a very comprehensive run through. Gary's got everything from that. We're doing it later on tonight. The last thing I wanted to talk about tonight is all about development as well, but from
Thank you, René.
Yeah, welcome.
More of a political point of view. Well, yeah. Also, we have booked René for a talk on, and he touched it just on Cloudflare.
Nice. Yeah. I'll be here for that.
For months.
Yeah.
But he's obviously very passionate about this project, because when I raised it, it was like, can I do this instead?
Yeah.
The Cloudflare thing is definitely something I'd like to.
I've been heavily using Cloudflare,
especially if you've got details of the configurations and settings and different things that can help.
Yeah. So it'd be a good one. And anyone else that wants to join in on that one, perhaps we could get several different people's views on Cloudflare and how they've been working with it. But yeah, no, thank you, René. That's really good.
Yeah.